So which are the best weapons to punch the enemy heavies with? The Power Fist, the Chainfist, or the Thunderhammer? Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics for another Math Hammer type video, where we're going to look at some of the numbers behind the revamped rules for the Power Fist, Chainfist and Thunderhammer. For those that aren't aware, they've had a bit of a shake-up in the new Space Marine Codex. Power Fist and Chainfist typically cost the same, the Power Fist being flat damage 2 and AP minus 3, with the Chainfist being AP minus 4 and damage D3, but going to a flat damage 3 against vehicle targets. Finally, the Thunderhammer, which has been the go-to for a long time, has taken a bit of a hit, dropping from AP minus 3 to AP minus 2, though still having that excellent flat damage of 3. First of all, we're going to compare some numbers between Power Fists and Chainfists, then look at how the Thunderhammer stacks up against the Power Fist. Let's jump right into it. So comparing Power Fists and Chainfists is usually most relevant on Terminators, who can take as many as they want of both. In the previous edition, upgrading to the Chainfist cost you a couple of extra points, but that's no longer the case. It means that we can do a bit of side-by-side comparison, so these are the expected damage outputs for a squad of 5 Terminators all armed with Power Fists or Chainfists. Typically, the standard Terminator loadout, the Sergeant would have a power sword, but I've not bothered to calculate that, seeing as it's not the decision that we're trying to answer here. The relic pattern Terminators can choose one or the other, as can more specialist Terminator formations such as the Wolf Guard. In general, despite the flat 2 damage of the Power Fist, the Chainfist makes a really good account of itself against most targets. Against Hordes, both of them are pretty much equal, both against Guardsmen and Necron Warriors they'll do the same amount of damage. Though until you get to turn 3 or 4 and have the Assault Doctrine active, it does mean that anything with a 3+ save, the Chainfist is typically going to be a bit better against. Chainfist will kill 1 extra Sister of Battle on average, just because they have AP minus 4. In fact, the only real win for the Power Fist is when you're fighting Intercessors. They do have a 3+ save, but they also have 2 wounds, and that means that you will get just a little bit more damage out of the Power Fist, though I have to admit it's really close. The AP minus 4 of the Chainfist really helps to narrow the gap, and it would be a bit wider if the Intercessors either had an invul save, or if you were in the Assault Doctrine making the Power Fist AP minus 4. For tougher targets though, it's pretty much a clean sweep for the Chainfist. Against Aggressors, the damage D3 is actually more efficient than flat damage 2, so your squad of Terminators will be averaging almost 9 wounds rather than 6 compared with the standard. Against a toughness 6 monster that you don't get the flat damage 3 against, the Chainfist is again slightly ahead due to the better AP, and things get to absolutely silly levels whenever you're targeting vehicles, as the Chainfists go to flat 3 damage. So if you're attacking a standard toughness 7 vehicle, Chainfist Terminators will get around about 11 wounds against it, rather than 6. Honestly, most of the numbers in the table do tend to be quite close here, but just for those matchups when you might be fighting a few vehicles, I'd say you're really going to thank yourself for including those Chainfists. For me, I would equip Terminators with Chainfists over Power Fists, despite the flat 2 damage. Sure, the Power Fists do better against Intercessors, which really are quite common, but the Chainfists do better against Aggressors and Gravis armor, which is also very common in a Space Marine list. So let's move on to talk about Thunderhammers now. Thunderhammers are a bit pricier than the Power Fist and Chainfist, though they do have some slightly interesting pointing going on. When you're using them on Intercessors, Thunderhammers cost 20 points and Power Fists cost 10, so quite a significant points hike. But if you're using them on Sergeants with 2 attacks like Tactical Marines, the Thunderhammers only cost 15, but the Power Fist still costs 10. It means that Thunderhammers are definitely worth considering more if you are tooling up something like a Space Marine Sergeant. On characters, Thunderhammers are typically 10 points more than Power Fists, usually 20 points over 10 points, and on Vanguard Veterans they get slightly discounted power weapons. Thunderhammers are 12 points and Power Fists are 8. If we look at some numbers comparing the two, I think it is worth taking the rest of the squad into account if you're using it on a squad upgrade. So here we have the numbers for a squad of 5 Assault Intercessors, either armed with a Thunderhammer or Power Fist when they're attacking one target. Because the Thunderhammer squad costs 10 points more, I have weighted for points in this table, so this is the average damage that the squad will inflict for every 100 points that you spend on the unit. Again, we're not in the Assault Doctrine for this. The Assault Doctrine would help the Thunderhammer catch up a bit. Due to the Thunderhammer costing more points and not being any better against Guard or Necron Warriors, the Power Fist unit is the more efficient choice against both of these, but not by all that much admittedly. Power Fists really do shine against Intercessors though. Again, the Thunderhammer is worse against Intercessors than the Power Fist, despite costing more, so that's to be expected. Thunderhammers win out against flat 3 wound models such as Aggressors or Terminators, and it's almost exactly even when you're targeting tough vehicles, such as this Toughness 7 vehicle here. Per 100 points, you will be averaging around about 4 wounds. The general trend is that Power Fists are better against 2 wound infantry and lower. Thunderhammers are great against 3 wound infantry, and the two are almost exactly balanced in terms of points per damage against tough vehicles. I would bear in mind though that for durability per point, the Power Fist armed squad will come out ahead, as they'll cost you 105 points, the Thunderhammer squad will cost you 115, and they both have the exact same defensive profile. The trend is almost exactly the same on a Space Marine Captain with a Power Fist or Thunderhammer. Again, point for point of Space Marine Captain, the Power Fist wins out against all the light targets, the Thunderhammer wins against 3 wound infantry, and the Thunderhammer is just a tiny bit ahead against toughness 7 vehicles. Again, despite the difference in points cost, the same is pretty much true for the Vanguard vets. Here we have the numbers for a squad of 5 Vanguard veterans armed with Power Fist and Storm Shield versus 5 Vanguard veterans armed with Thunderhammer and Storm Shield. Again, weighted for points, the Power Fist ones cost 33 points per, and the Thunderhammer ones cost 37 points per. The results are pretty much exactly the same. The only significant win for the Thunderhammers are against the aggressors. I would bear in mind though with all these comparisons that if the target has a decent invul save, or if you happen to be in the Assault Doctrine for an extra pip of AP, it does give you a bit of an advantage to the Thunderhammer over the Fist, so it is worth bearing in mind. Honestly, between the Power Fist and Thunderhammer, I think that the two are really quite well balanced now. Point for point they give you fairly similar damage output. Power Fists are more efficient against Intercessors and Light Infantry. Thunderhammers are more efficient against Gravis armour, and very slightly more efficient against Heavies, particularly when they're in the Assault Doctrine. Though the Power Fist will mean that you have a cheaper, more durable unit point for point. For me, I would make the decision just based on how many points I'm happy to plough into the units to make it more fighty. If you really want to get the absolute max damage output out of them, then I'd go for the Thunderhammer, whereas if a moderate amount and saving some points could be better, then I'd go for the Power Fist. I think it's good news to see them fairly well balanced like this, as it means that you're not particularly punished for using one over the other. So let me know your preferences on Power Fist, Thunderhammers and Chainfists down in the comments below. Have I managed to sell you on the Chainfist over the Power Fist, or is that flat 2 damage just too good to pass up? If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where we'll hopefully be comparing a bunch more units in the Space Marine Codex over the next few weeks. And if you have enjoyed, I'd just like to mention that I do have a Patreon page, which you can find down in the video description below. Channel Patreons get to see certain videos early, there's regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and you also get automatically entered into the Auspex Tactics prize giveaway with a chance to win some big kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support the channel, then the link is down in the video description below. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you next time.